Hello dear students, I welcome you all to my today's lecture and that is about the growth regulators. I am Avinash Darsimbe, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Shri, Shivaji Science College, Amravati. So let's talk about our today's topic and that is about the growth regulators. Dear students, as you know that all the organisms on the earth, they have a proper pattern in life. Means first there is the birth of an organism, then it starts to grow and develop, it comes to its child stage, then to its adult stage, then its old stage, and ultimately the organism will get done. Likewise, in plant also there is a particular pattern of the life. Here you can see in this particular picture there is, first of all, there is a seed, then it starts to grow into a small plant, then into a tree, and it becomes a huge tree at the end. And this particular pattern is known as the plant growth. And for this purpose, there are various type of hormones which are responsible. And such type of hormones, they are known as the growth regulators. In plant, they are basically known as the plant growth regulators. So today we are going to talk about such type of growth regulators. First of all, we should know what is growth. So growth may be defined as an irreversible permanent increase in size, volume, or mass of the cell or organ or the whole organisms. It means what? Any type of increase, whether it may be in a way of size, volume, or mass, and it will be in a cell or organ or in a whole organism, then it is known as the growth. And one thing that is very much important, that it is an irreversible permanent increase. Now, the growth is one of the fundamental characteristics of a living being. All the living beings, they have growth. It is accompanied by the metabolic processes, that is the anabolic process and the catabolic process, and that occurs in the form of energy. If we talk about the examples in a plant, then there is the expansion of leaf, that is an example of growth, or elongation of a stem. It is also an example of a growth. Now, as we had understood what is the growth, then the next thing that we should know, and that is about the characteristics of growth. So what are the main characteristics of growth? The first one, that is the cellular growth, means the growth of the cell. Then the second one, that is the cell division, how the cell get divided. The third, that is the cell expansion. And the fourth one, that is the cellular differentiation. It means what? If all these four things will happen, it means there is a growth. Means whether if there is a cellular growth, then if there is a division, then if there is an expansion or differentiation, then it will be the characteristics of the growth. Now, as we understand what are the characteristics of growth, then the main part that we have to study, that is about the plant growth regulators. Sometimes they are also known as the PGR. Now, the plant growth regulators, which is also known as the phytohormones, are the chemical substances that influences the growth and the differentiation of the plant cell, tissue, and the organ between the cells. The plant growth regulators functions as a chemical messengers for the intercellular communication. They work together coordinating the growth and development of the cell. There are various types of hormones, like we will see in this the next part, and that is in plants there are various types of hormones, and these hormones, they have their particular role. If we classify these hormones of the plants, that is the phytohormones, then basically we can see there are 5 types of phytohormones. These are the first one, that is the auxin, gibberellin, cytokine, abscisic acid, which is also known as ABA, and ethylene. And these particular type of hormones, they can be classified into 2 types. That is, the first one, that is the growth promoters. The growth promoters means the hormones which always promote for the growth and which are responsible for the growth and development. And these are the first one, that is the auxin, gibberellin, and cytokine. So these 3 hormones, they are the growth promoter hormones, while the abscisic acid and ethylene, they are the growth inhibitors, which inhibit the growth of a plant. Sometimes the inhibition process is also important for the growth and development. So, as we had classified all the phytohormones into 2 different groups, these are the growth promoters and the growth inhibitors. Now, sequentially, we will study all the hormones. First of all, we will talk about the auxins. Now, auxins were discovered by the Charles Darwin and Francis Darwin. Now, after that, the F.W. Went isolated this auxin from the tip of collectile of oat seedlings. Then Went developed the Avinash culture and test for the biomass of auxins. And the auxins, in a synthetic way, it may be of 4 types. These are the first one, that is the IAA, which is known as indole acetic acid. The second one, that is the IBA, which is indole butyric acid. The third one, that is the NAB, that is naphthalene acetic acid. And the fourth one, that is the 2,4-D, which is 2,4-dichlorophenoxy acetate. So these are the 4 synthetic forms of the auxins. Now, let's see what are the different characteristics of these and the physiological effects of the auxins. What is the role of auxin actually in a plant? So, first of all, it promotes the apical dominance. Means when there is a particular apical mainstay, it will be the dominant one, and the more growth and development takes place at that particular region. Second thing, that is, it initiates the rooting in the stem cutting. Well, if there is a stem and we will cut it, sometime you can see while the process of propagation, the root had been formed, and it is all because of the presence of auxin. Auxin, it also promotes the flowering. Example, in the pineapple. Then it prevents the fruit and leaf drop at the early stage. As you know that the plant having a various type of fruits and leaves, but when they are in immature form, they always remain in contact of the plant. While the fruit, if they are heavy one like mango, even though it will not fall from that particular plant. The reason behind it because of the presence of auxin. Now the auxin, it also promotes the abscission of older mature leaf and fruits. Why? If these leaves and the fruit get mature, after that it can fall because of the presence of this. These auxins, it also induce the parthenocarp, that is the seedlessness in a particular plant. And the example, that is the tomatoes. It also helps and used as a herbicide. Then it controls the xylem differentiation and helps in the cell division. So these are the various physiological effects of the auxins. Now, the second hormone, and that is the gibberellin. These gibberellin, it was first identified by E. Kurosawa, that is a Japanese scientist. And it was found in a fungal pathogen named as Gibberella fujikuroi. So, Gibberella fujikuroi was the fungi in which first these gibberellin had been isolated. Now, the gibberellin were isolated from the infected rice seedling when treated with the sterile filtrate of fungus. Now, what are the physiological effects of gibberellin? The elongation of the intact stem, it was the main role of gibberellin. If we take an example of sugarcane, so the main food product of a sugarcane was a stem. So for elongation of that particular stem so that more product will form, these gibberellins have been provided to the sugarcane plant. So gibberellin is responsible for the elongation of the intact stem, and secondly, it is also important, playing important role in the dark shoots. The bolting in rosette plant, that is in henbane and cabbage. It overcomes the natural dormancy of buds, tubers, seeds, etc. It also helps and play an important role in seed germination. It also induces the parthenocarp for the development of the seedless fruits. It promotes flowering in long plants. And it also helps in vernalization. So these are the various physiological roles of gibberellin. Now, the next hormone, and that is the cytokine. The Skook and Miller discovered the cytokine. Skook and Miller crystallized the cytokine promoting active substance and named it as a kinectin from the corn kernel and coconut milk. Now, what are the physiological effects of this cytokine? First of all, the cytokine, it means the cyto, it means the cell, and kine means the division. That's why the cytokine have a particular role, and that is about it induces the cell division. It is one of the most important role of cytokine. Secondly, it delays the senescence of leaves and other organs. Means when the senescence comes, the cytokinin is only responsible for delaying the senescence. Next one, that is, it promotes the lateral growth. Then it increases the cell expansion in dicot, cotyledon, and leaves. It promotes the chloroplast development also. So these are the various physiological roles of cytokine. Now the next hormone, and that is the abscisic acid, which is also known as ABA. In 1963, Frederick T. Endicott and his co-workers identified this abscisic acid. This ABA was isolated from several abscissions, accelerating substances from the cotton plant. This ABA is called the stress hormone because it plays a role in various types of stress conditions like drought and other stress conditions. Now, what are the physiological effects of abscisic acid? It acts as a general plant growth inhibitor, as we had classified it in a previous slide, that it is one of the growth inhibitor. Then it induces seed and bud dormancy. It inhibits the seed germination. Means because it is responsible for the dormancy of the seeds, that's why it, it becomes one of the inhibitor of the germination. Then it stimulates the closure of stomata. The stomata, it gets closed due to the formation or the presence of this abscisic acid. It plays an important role in seed development, maturation, and dormancy. So these are the various roles of abscisic acid. Now, the next one, and that is the ethylene. So it is the last hormone in the basic way of the phytohormones. These ethylene, it is a causing form the release of a volatile substance from a ripe orange that has tanned and ripened to the unripened banana. The volatile substance was then identified as a ethylene. Now, what are the physiological effects of it? It promotes the senescence and abscission. Means it promotes the way through which the plant will be senescence and the abscission. Abscission means falling of leaves. And senescence is a particular, we can say, a way to which the plant was going aging process, and ultimately it will get done. Now it inhibits the elongation of the stem and the roots. That's why it is known as one of the growth inhibitor. Because when the aging of the plant is completed, at that time the elongation of the root and the stem have to be stopped. So at that time, these ethylene hormone, it inhibits the growth and elongation of stem and root. Now it induces the fruit ripening. So the hormone which is responsible for the ripening of the mango, it is the ethylene. Okay, so it is always responsible for the ripening of the fruits. Then it breaks the seed and bud dormancy. While we have a seed, we have a bud, and we have kept dormant condition. But if ethylene is being treated to the particular plant, so the dormancy of that particular seed bud, it will get. It initiates the germination in peanut seeds, sprouting of potato tubers. It promotes the root growth and root hair formation. It initiates flowering for the synchronization of the fruits and set in the example that is in the pineapples. So this is all about the ethylene. So now in this lecture we had taken the hormones which are responsible for the growth and development of a plant. If you have any question, you may ask. Thank you.